Good morning, guys. Welcome to the first video tutorial that I am going to be making for using the Photoshop program that we're going to be doing when we're learning from a distance, okay? This one is one that you shouldn't need a very high performance computer in order to use, because this one is done in the browser only, although I assume having a better quality computer would make it a little bit easier, but my computer is not all that new and it seems to run it absolutely no problem. And considering the fact that it is an online only program, it's very similar to the one that we would be using in the computer with our full power computer. So it's very powerful considering the relative ease that most computers, or my computer at any rate, seems to be able to handle it. Okay, so the photo editor is called Photopea. Okay, and in order to get to it, you just Google Photopea, and it's the first thing that comes up, photopea.com. Click on that and you're ready to start editing photos. Now, that in and of itself should make you a little cautious with this, so I'm going to tell you to be a little cautious with this. If you start uploading pictures and editing pictures and stuff like that on here, because it's not being done on your computer, it's being stored on a server somewhere. I don't know where. It could be in America, it could be in China, it could be anywhere in the world. Okay, you are uploading and running this program, and there's going to be copies somewhere. I don't know where. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you're doing anything with sensitive information, don't do it on something which is not locally on your computer, and this is not locally on your computer, so just a word of caution there, okay? Now, when you're here, it's very easy to then start. You can either start by going to a new project or open one directly from your computer. If you select new project, you get to choose what size you're going to be making your photo. So you can do something which is this Facebook cover photo size, Facebook shared image, Instagram stuff, like social media stuff. Or if you go to print, you get your typical page sizes here. So letter size 8.5 by 11, and typical photo sizes as well. And you can just sort of pick. You can even go directly to screen size. So the screen size of my computer, I believe, is 1600 by 900 pixels. I believe it's this one. Right, so I can make something which perfectly fits into my computer, whatever. For this point, don't really worry about it. Just select anything. I'm just going to select letter size here. You can name your project. I'm not going to bother naming that. Background being white, height, width, all that's good. You could change your DPI if you really wanted to. I would suggest you don't worry about it, but so don't worry about DPI. Okay, we're not going to get into that here. And then create. And now you have your new project, and then you can start by bringing your photos into here. That's one way of doing it. What I would do is file open and then go to whatever picture you want to start editing and start editing there. Okay, so here's a picture that I'm going to use for this demonstration, and I'll open it, and you'll see I've still got my new project in its own tab over here, and then this picture here. Close that because I'm going to be working with this one. Okay, so that is how to open something in Photopea. Again, I don't know where this is. Okay, I don't know what server this is being hosted on or anything like that. I just know it's not on my computer, so you do have to be careful with it. Now, when you are trying to save your work, you can save it. I believe PSD is the file that you would be able to, if you were to save it as a PSD, close it, and then try opening it up again, you would open it up as a project. So any of the things you started working on, you could continue working on. That's one way of doing it. What we are going to be primarily doing, because you shouldn't be taking a super long time to do any of these projects, you're just going to be exporting it as your image file. And then when you're exporting it as your image file, it's going to be saved onto your computer, and then you double click on it and it's just a picture like you would expect a picture to be. Okay, so just like with all the other programs we used, right? So if you think of Audacity, you could either save it as an Audacity file, which could be only opened in Audacity, or you could export it as something which is commonly used, like a PNG, JPEG, whatever it is, okay? So that's that. Now, the first thing we're going to learn about as we are doing photo editing is something called curves. I will be also uploading the tutorial, or parts of the tutorial that I created last year for the program we're going to use here, because it contains information about what exactly curves are. And you should either pause now and read what I post, or you should just finish watching this to see what it is, and then you can go read it again to figure out exactly what's going on here. But curves are a very simple way of adjusting what the image looks like. And this is probably the most common thing that people who do their own photo editing, this is probably the most common thing that they do, and this might be the only thing that they change at all, other than maybe airbrushing some things out. Like if you've got an awkward looking, I don't know, let's say you're cleaning up a portrait and they've got a pimple, cleaning that up, that's something that they'll do, but they'll also adjust the colors by using the curves in order to make it look make it pop out a little bit more. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. So to adjust your curves, you go to Image, Adjustments, Curves. It's that simple here. And this is an illustration of what the curves does. Most commonly, I believe you guys will be doing RBG. You can do red, green, and blue, but RGB does them all at the same time. And if you're getting into these ones, it's something a little bit more specific and more detailed than I think you'll ever need to worry about. So I always just keep it here. Don't touch this. Just leave it on spline, and that's fine. Okay. And what your curve is it's a rough detailing of what colors are where. So if I go to blue without touching anything, you see there's a lot of really dark blues. There's not a lot of very light blues. That's what this is kind of saying here, okay? Or if I go to green, there's a lot of the mids. There's not really super bright or light greens. There's not super dark greens. And if I go over to the other one, red, it's very shifted to the one side. Okay, that's basically all it's saying. This is a rough average of all the colors. And then I can change which colors are more dominant and which colors are more recessive by moving this line up and down, okay? The start and the end point are always going to be the same. Just before I show you the effects of this, you can add as many different points as you want and change things around those points. Reset. But to illustrate what this does, all you have to do is create a point that you want to move and move it up and down. And you'll notice as I pull down this way, I'm making everything dark. And as I go up, I'm making everything light. Okay, so as you go down this way, you're starting to darken all of your different colors. As you go this way, you're starting to lighten all of your colors. Okay, and that's simply all you're going to be doing with your curves, is creating the adjustment to get things stressed that you want to be stressed out. So one pretty neat thing that I would think of doing here is, because my blue is so obvious here, and if I start to lighten everything, it kind of makes it pop out a lot more. So one thing that I could do with this image is I could create the curve. See how I'm a little bit brighter up here, but if I did this, my shirt really pops out, and then I could create a mask and I could make everything out of focus except for me, because this blue is so obvious and it's so much brighter now, right? And I can just isolate that. Reset that. But if I go to, let's say, red now, and I start to make adjustments to the red, you can see that by increasing the importance of red, or increasing the amount of red that's there, and taking the red away, right? Depending on what shifts I want to do. And if I leave that, if I leave this curve on red like this, and I go over to green, the red curve will stay as is. And I can make adjustments to all of these things independently. Right, and they stick around until I hit the reset button. So you can play with that, but the most common and most effective thing to do is, again, just stay on RGB. What you want to do is make your darks darker and your brights brighter, and that'll cause it to pop out a little bit. So I'm going to create two other points here and just drag this down a little bit and just drag this over a little bit. And then my brights are a lot brighter, and my darks are a lot darker. So this photo, it doesn't look like I changed a whole lot. If I click the preview button, it goes back to what it used to look like. And just that change there makes it look so much more attractive just by simply clicking 2 points and moving it slightly, just because everything pops. There's more contrast here. The darks are darker, the lights are lighter, and everything's kind of going off at you, okay? That's honestly most of what photo editing is going to be, is just playing with the curves a little bit to get certain colors to be highlighted, and then you're done. Okay, so that's really cool, really simple to do. You press OK, and it becomes something which is permanent. And you can go and you can go back to your curves, and I believe they would. Oh, that is a permanent change then. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so if you do that and you hit OK, it's a permanent change. If you want to go back, On the history thing here, you can just go back to open. And that's sort of like doing Control Z. So if I was here and I did Control Z, it'd do the same thing, but you can actually select where to go. And this history, I believe, will store up to 30 moves that you did. So you can make 30 different changes and go back to 30 through this history bar, okay? So that is all I wanted to show you with this one. What I would like you to do is take a photo, any photo that you want. You can take a new one. I recommend you take new ones for this because it gives you an excuse to kind of get up, use your phone or whatever it is that you have, take a picture, and then go and edit it. It's kind of fun to start to do. So I want you to take a photo, adjust the curve slightly, and put it on the assignment that I introduced, I believe, already. Okay? So until you see my next video, like, comment, subscribe. See you around.